Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My entitled mom thinks she should live for free. After that, burglar calls the cops on the homeowner. And after that, am I the jerk for setting up my ex-husband to look like a bad father? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets kicked out. But where will I go? So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My entitled mom thinks she should live for free. Background: 3 years ago, I, 24 female, decided to move my mom, who's 61, in with me when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She had multiple surgeries coming up and was not physically capable of taking care of herself. She is cancer-free now, but is not in great health. She can't work and draws disability. The first year to year and a half wasn't bad, but the last year and a half to 2 years has been a nightmare. She constantly trashes the house, leaves food laying around for days, destroys things such as my washer and dryer, has sketchy characters coming in and out that are on drugs, yells and cusses at me, tells me I'm a bad person. I could keep going forever. A few weeks ago, I told her I was done and she needed to move out. She pays me $300 out of her check, which takes care of her rent, cell phone, house insurance, electric, cable, water, and some food. I told her starting in October, I was going to start taking the $300 and put it in a savings account until there was enough money for her to move. When she got paid in October, she gave me the money. Today she calls me at work and demands her $300, stating it is her money to do as she pleases with. I asked why she needed the money so bad, and she says it's because she wants to go on vacation to Miami. I explained to her that the $300 she gave me is rent money, as in a bill, that I just happen to be saving it rather than using it. She goes on to tell me that I'm stealing from her, that it's her money and I have to give it back to her. When I continued to say no, she said starting next month she is going to save the money herself. Me, knowing that she will just blow the money rather than saving it, I tell her that either she gives me the $300 a month to put in savings, or she has to move out by the end of the month since she would no longer be paying rent at that point. At this point, she starts telling me I'm a bad person and a horrible kid, that no other kid would treat their mother the way I treat her, that since she is my mother, she deserves to live with me for free and shouldn't have to pay for anything, that the money she gets should strictly only be for her and what she wants, that she would save money to move when she is ready to. I had to contact my landlord and explain the situation. When she gets her next check, if she doesn't pay me, my landlord and I will be getting her evicted. It just dumbfounds me that she thinks that her 24-year-old daughter, who works full-time and goes to school full-time, should supply her with a place to live and accessories for free. I make good money for my age, but she acts like I'm a money tree. What would you do in this situation? Would you let Karen keep living with you or not? Please let us know. Reminds me of the time you tried to kick me out, Mr. Reddit. Burglar calls the cops on the homeowner. This story was actually told to me by a friend of mine and is a quick tale about how she turned the tables on a home invader. At the time this happened, my friend was raising her kid by herself in the suburbs of Texas. The area they lived in wasn't particularly safe, with wild beasts of both human and animal kinds, so friend armed herself and took some safety classes to protect her small family. The years go by. Her kid is now 5, and there was a series of break-ins in the neighborhood, so friend hired a security company to install security cameras around her home. One day, while reviewing footage, friend noticed a strange man lurking around the house. He seemed to wander around a bit, and then wandered away, so friend shrugged and carried on with her day. Nothing to worry about, right? Turns out, she was wrong. A few days later, friend was working in her home office and saw the same guy walking down her driveway, opened the gate, and entered her backyard. Friend realized the kitchen door was open. Her kid was playing in the living room. Friend grabbed her weapon from her purse and ran to the kitchen and got there as the guy calmly walked through her back door. Guy sauntered in, looked around the room to see friend standing there with her weapon. Guy froze. Friend, who the heck are you and why are you in my house? The guy gulped, grabbed his phone and dialed 911. Help! I'm standing in this kitchen and some crazy lady has a gun pointed at me. Friend was stunned, but didn't put her weapon down, while calmly telling her kid to go play in the other room, and they stood there, not moving, while staring the guy down, who refused to leave. Guy, you're gonna get it when the cops show up, jerk. Friend, you're in my house. Now get out. Guy actually stayed standing there until the police came into the kitchen. Guy saw the cops and started screaming, arrest her, she's crazy. Look, she has a gun on me. Friend put it down and started shaking. This is my house. You broke in. Cop stopped and stared, looked at the guy. You broke in? Guy. Well, her door was open, and then she pulled that on me. That's not how it works. Arrest her for having that. Friend. I have a license and this is Texas, you idiot. Cops arrested the guy, who was still howling how Friend didn't do it right. Apparently, she wasn't a proper victim. Friend gave the cops a copy of the video of him sniffing around earlier in the week. She never heard anything back from them, so she figured he went to jail. Am I the jerk for setting up my ex-husband to look like a bad father? When my ex's daughter, Megan, was turning 13, she wanted a tiered Harry Potter cake. She loves the movies. She was very specific in what she wanted. I told her as gently as I could that I didn't think we'd be able to afford that. And my ex took what opportunity to be the fun parent and said in a doting voice, "Oh baby, don't worry. Daddy will get you your cake." She was all smiles and ran off to get her bags. I told him if he was going to promise this to order it early, because bakeries require advance order. He got all huffy and said he knew what the heck he was doing and I should mind my own business. I said anything involving our daughter is my business. He said he didn't need my help and I should just handle the birthday party and he'd get the cake. I said okay, then they left for the weekend. I know my ex. He puts things off that aren't about him. I knew he was going to forget about the order. Usually I'd pester him so he wouldn't forget, but he said he didn't need my help, so I decided not to bring it up unless he did. But I did call a friend I have who started decorating cakes to order the cake from her. It cost a bit more than I'd have liked, but not as much as I'd been worried it would. Well, he never brought the cake up again. At least not until the day before her birthday, where he called me, frantic. He forgot to order the cake. And now none of the bakeries will take his order without tacking on a massive fee, because there's no way they can have the cake ready unless they focus their full staff on one cake. I was going to tell him not to worry. I ordered the cake for him. But then he says, "Why didn't you remind me?" I just snapped and said he needed to figure this out and he better have a cake tomorrow. Then I hung up. He brought a cake. A plain white sheet cake with red trim and one of those print-out sugar decals on the front of Harry Potter and his two friends, and a wax 11 candle. She was turning 13. He revealed the cake during her party, so everyone was sitting quiet and Megan looked heartbroken and tried to be nice, but she asked what happened to the cake she wanted. X floundered, and I let him for a few seconds before laughing. Haha, just kidding. And then I went and pulled the cake I ordered from the kitchen. Megan lit up, and everyone laughed, and it was just one huge joke, and the rest of the party went great. But after everyone went home and Megan was in her room, X tried to lay into me about humiliating him and letting him look like a bad father. And I told him the only one who made him look bad was him. I think I was justified, but some mutual friends think I should have just told him I got the cake to keep things civil between us. Am I the jerk? Edit. I never told Megan or even planned to tell her, not until she was older maybe. But she started acting very chilly to X for a long while after her birthday party, and when he asked her why, she admitted to almost walking into the kitchen when he and I were whisper arguing the night of her birthday. She found out he had completely forgotten to order the cake, and the joke cake was actually the real cake he got her. So she was very cross with him for a long time afterwards. Edit 2. To everyone thinking I purposefully waited to have him reveal the joke cake before showing the cake I ordered, I didn't. I had planned on pulling him aside before the party and letting him know I just went ahead and ordered a cake for him. Then we'd take in the big cake and leave whatever he brought in the kitchen. But he showed up after all the guests had arrived, so I didn't have time to grab him before he set the sheet cake box on the dining room table where everyone saw it. And I knew everyone would notice us taking his short pink box into the kitchen and coming back out with a taller white one. I thought on my toes. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her ex? Please let us know. I can see why he's the ex. The guy sounds like a real piece of work. Do the work exactly how you want it done, even though it's ridiculously wrong? Fine by me. Some background before we start. I worked as a drone pilot / mine surveyor for a man-child, using drones to take pictures of the mines, creating a 3D model out of those pictures, and then calculating all sorts of goodies for the clients, like their gold yield and the amount of crap they have to move, etc. It's really technical and can easily go completely to crap if you don't know what you're doing. And even if you know what you're doing, it can still very easily go to complete crap. I'm licensed and certified. I've been playing the game for a long time now, and I know how it works most of the time. My ex-boss, on the other hand, didn't. See, he got his surveyor's license during the 80s by complete chance. He was a simple miner who just happened to be in the right place at the right time, getting a free university scholarship to become a surveyor because they had a few grants left over and called out who wanted it. His hand was one of the ones they picked. The second he got his license, he quit his job and convinced an old retiree surveyor to throw in his retirement, all cards on the table, to start up their own surveying business. He spent the entire time at the golf course and the bar, making a fat amount of cash out of his newly founded, self-milking cash cow. Not once did he carry out an actual survey. Heck, I doubt he's even stepped foot on a mine since then. He just invoiced the clients, told the retirees where to go, and collected a paycheck. So, time moves on, work slowly filters in, and as one does when they reach the ripe old age of 80-something, the retiree decides forget this and kicks the bucket. My boss's cash cow just died on him, and no matter how hard he squeezed, the only thing coming out of it now was dust. The only other employee was this other guy who acted as his assistant and basically just carried heavy things for him. He didn't have a backup. So, of course, he hired me. I was pretty fresh into the game at this point, starving and basically homeless, and in my eyes, this guardian angel just descended from the heavens and offered me a way out. He basically told me that we have to survey X site and get the data to X client. Didn't tell me how, didn't tell me what data exactly they want. Heck, he didn't even tell me when they needed it by. He just pointed to the place on Google, told me to get there and to get it done. Somehow, I did it. I scraped by and eventually figured out just what the heck to do. At some point, we were kicked off of the mine for reasons that my boss didn't disclose to me and had to open up our own offices. My boss graciously dug deep into his pockets, kicked out his eldest son, and dedicated that room in his house to our use. Now, I was spending every day with the man, since if he wasn't at the golf course, he was at home. We started butting heads. He had this illusion in his head of how things work and how you're supposed to do things, and I had practical experience and qualifications to tell me otherwise. Every single day was a fight, and every single day he'd tell me how he wanted it to be done, and I'd just turn around and do it the way it's meant to be done. I started passing out my CV everywhere. My timing was perfect though, because a little blip and crash of the 2020 job economy happened right as I started searching. The interviews I had lined up all got canceled. The people who I already interviewed with and who seemed ecstatic to have me suddenly didn't answer my calls. I felt like a scorned lover, waiting on the curb in the rain and my socks soaking wet. I was considering maybe going back to IT. I felt hopeless and dejected, doomed to a life of taking care of a disgusting man-child and his fat wallet. Eventually, though, a second angel descended from the heavens, once again saving me. Finally, I could leave this place. I was waiting on the contract, not really willing to commit to anything without it being in writing, when my boss and I got into another massive screaming fight. After hour 3, something inside me snapped. You want it done your way? Fine, I'll do it your way. I committed hard to following his procedures every step of the way. Surveys were taking 3 times longer to do. The drone crashed 4 times, my first ever crash, and all of them were near write-offs. The 3D models stopped looking like mines and started resembling potato chips and Twizzlers. He had clients calling him day and night, non-stop, asking him just what the heck was he doing. Eventually, he gave my number to them so they could call me directly, and I started getting calls day and night, non-stop, until I just turned off my phone outside of office hours. Clients were threatening to drop the contracts. Clients were threatening to sue. My contract came in from my new company, and I signed the dotted line with a smile on my face. One client stopped calling and stopped paying. Word got out, as it always does, that his company is not legit and is just being run out of someone's home. Another client canceled the contract completely and threatened legal action. I handed in my resignation. My boss looked at me pleadingly, offering me a ton of cash to stay. I told him no. He begged me to write him a manual on how to do the work, to show him how to process the data, to fly the pits, to set up the instruments. I spent the last 2 weeks there writing out every procedure he ever told me I needed to follow, sent it through to him, and walked away. A few weeks later, when he was scheduled to do a survey, I was suddenly spammed with calls and emails and messages from him, asking how to do this or how to fly that or where to find this data. His manual wasn't working. Surprise, surprise. I don't know. Just read the manual. My new company is currently picking up all the contracts he's dropped. If we manage to get the last one, I'm going to ask them for a bonus. Karen, did you just assault me? This story just happened about 3 days ago with me, my godson, newborn, and my so close best friend we could be sisters. Let's set the scene. Paris, Target, kinda chilly outside, and somehow it's a bit cloudy, so I thought we were gonna get cold rain. During the time my BFF came to visit, I was in the midst of getting my godbaby together to take him home. His poor mom had to work that whole weekend, so I told my BFF to come with me. On the way, my godbaby's mom asked if we could pick up some things for them from Target. Sure, why not? We see Target before we get to her house anyway, plus I needed to get some stuff afterwards, so why not get it all while we're there, right? Plus, one of my favorite cousins works there, so I could see her and finally let her see my godbaby from a distance. Might want to remember this for later on. So my friend cash apped me and we go off to Target. So we get in Target and I have my godbaby in his little carrier. Unfortunately, my friend brought the one that's too big for the front of the shopping cart, so I had to put it directly inside of the cart. Since CJ is only 1 month, he's too young for a mask, so I cover the carrier in a thick enough blanket. I asked my BFF to get another cart for the shopping, and now we're set. Now, to describe what we're wearing, everyone knows Target's uniform is a basic red shirt with nothing on it and khaki pants. BFF wore a navy blue top with black flare pants and flats. I wore a V-neck burgundy top with flare sleeves and strings to tie in a bow in the front with black flare jeans with some sneakers. So we're shopping, checking off things on her list and mine. Then I'm looking over on the list and on the side of the walking area so I wouldn't be in anyone's way and feeding CJ at the same time through the blanket. My little nugget got fussy, and I noticed I forgot something for him a few aisles back. So I asked my BFF to put on a glove and hold his bottle and finish feeding him while I go get the item. I go to the aisle, looking hard because my glasses tend to slide and fall off a lot. Keep this in mind too. And then I hear that classic sound that irritates everyone so bad, it makes them want to bang their head on the floor. That classic Karen, ahem. I turn my head, and there she is. Pixie haircut, sunglasses on top of her head with no sun in sight, tight tank top, short shorts, knowing darn well it's chilly outside, and flip-flops. I'm thinking to myself, is this the Karen uniform or something? But I digress. So I move out of the way, thinking I'm in her way, and continue looking for my item, and she sighs, and I can feel her staring burn through my skin, but I wasn't letting up. Then she says, "It's hard finding good help these days. Everyone wants to be lazy." I roll my eyes and put my head down, saying, "Not today. Please, just not today." I find my item and leave out the aisle. Now she's mad. Did I care? Nope, and I think she could sense that. Then she starts. Y'all know how this goes. Karen, "So, you're not going to help me?" Me, "Nope." Karen, fake gasp. "And why not?" Me, "Okay, I'ma try to say this in a nice way because I see you're one of those. Ma'am, I don't work here. I give you no indication that I work here. No, I'm not on break, and no, it's not my day off. I generally do not work here. Now I'm going to leave and put this in my shopping cart so I can pay and leave the store." Karen stops me as I'm backing up. "Don't you dare walk away from me. I know you're lying. I've seen you here before working. You can't fool me. You just don't want to work. You will be fired when I'm done with you. I'm getting the manager." Me looks her up and down. "Yeah, you do that." I go back to the carts and my BFF asks me what was taking so long. I tell her everything from A to Z and she chuckles. I see she's trying to burp CJ, so I tell her to let me try. I place the towelette on my shoulder and give him a good try. I'm 2 minutes in and he burps, and when I lay him down, baby boy is asleep. Good shot, so now we can leave. But then I hear screaming and screeching. My eyes widen and my head slowly turns to the right when I see Karen coming down the wall area with a manager. BFF says, "Is that her?" Yes, that's her. So Karen gets to us, still screaming and screeching. Karen, "This is her. She should be fired for not helping a customer and lying about not working here. I'm a loyal customer. I have rights." Me, "Sir, can you please tell her to keep it down? I just put my son to sleep. Second, I've already told the Wicked Witch of the Northeast that I don't work here. What part of my clothes say I work here? And even if I did and was on my day off, customers are not entitled to get help from them if they are not working. But as I have told her, I don't work here." Manager, "Ma'am, she really does not work here. All of this could have been avoided. Do you want me to help you?" Karen, "Yes, I want you to fire her. I know you're covering for her. I've seen her plenty of times working. If something doesn't happen right now, I'm calling corporate. Then from all of that hollering, my godbaby starts crying. So I pick him up and I'm trying to calm him down. Now I'm mad. I don't like when people disturb my son. So I snapped. Me. Lady, I told you to keep the noise down because I just put my son to sleep. Now look, I got a hollering Oswald and a crying baby. Shut up and move on somewhere. Like, wow, how hard is it for you to comprehend that I don't work here? You're that embarrassed at the fact that you were wrong that you gotta keep up this image just so you can try to be right? Get away from us so I can calm my son down. I guess all of that set her off, and she paid absolutely no attention to the fact that I still had my godbaby in my arms because she lunged at me with her arm in the air. And when it came down, it looked like she got me because I moved my face quick enough for her not to. By that time, my glasses slid off and fell on the floor and broke. Yup, now I'm really upset. Those were the only glasses I had too, and I had just tried to make an eye doctor appointment this week prior. They're full this month and next month and don't have appointments to book yet. I'm beyond upset. Then the ultimate happened. My cousin. So my cousin comes around the corner being nosy as heck, and when she noticed it was me, now she wants to know what's going on. The manager wants to know what this had to do with her, and she said she was my big cousin. Both he and Karen looked at us and saw we looked so much alike, it was no wonder Karen had mixed us up. We are two sister kids. My mama is the third oldest daughter, and her mama is the baby. So the manager tells my cousin to calm me down because he sees I'm about ready to fight while he goes to call the police. He didn't ask me if I wanted the police called, he just said he was gonna call the police. Oh, that set Karen all the way off. She's kicking and screaming while he's pulling her to his office. My cousin calms me down while I'm gently bouncing to put my godbaby back to sleep. The police came, I gave them my statement, my BFF gave her statement, cousin gave her statement because even though she didn't see it, she heard it, and she's a family member. Manager paid for the baby stuff, and the police said they'll get back in touch with me over Karen after he put her in handcuffs and put her in the back of a police car. Now, letting everyone know, yes, we did have our masks on and only took them off to talk to the manager. During the time I was burping my godbaby, I had the blanket over him. I still don't trust germs. I told my mom everything and she was laughing. I'm just surprised my BFF didn't say anything this whole time because knowing her, she would have jumped in. Sorry for the long story. Am I the jerk for telling my mother-in-law it's weird that she thinks she gets a say on things relating to my daughter? My mother-in-law is mostly a person who's easy to get along with, but for some reason, the lady has snapped after we announced that I'm pregnant. We let her get out all of her excitement, but didn't really encourage it. She keeps doing this weird thing where she refers to the baby as her baby. If I can be honest, I'm sure it'll change as time goes on, but I find the whole thing rather boring. Congrats! Someone who I just so happen to be married to got me pregnant. It's really not that exciting or interesting, and I cannot relate to women who never shut up about it. It's like the only thing anyone wants to talk to me about. Anyway, mother-in-law was over a few weeks ago and started talking names. She told me to give her a list and she'd go through and let us know which ones she liked or didn't like. I asked her why that was necessary, and she said, "Oh, you know, just making sure we're on the same page." I asked for clarification to that, why we'd need to be on the same page, and she started getting a bit cagey about it. "Oh, you know, just one of those things. Got to make sure everyone's on board with the name." At that point, I cleared my throat and said, very kindly but firmly, "There's no reason for anyone else to be on board with the names we've chosen." She got a bit upset at that and said, "Well, it's my grandchild, my baby." I said, "No, she's not your baby. Grandchild, yes, but you don't think you get a say in anything involving her, do you? Like, you don't think you get any say in her name, how she's raised, what school she goes to, how she dresses, any of it, right? You know you're not the parent here, right?" Well, she blew up, calling me ungrateful. For what? You aren't doing anything. Snobby, snooty, the whole shebang. I just got up and said I was bored with the conversation and went to the backyard to go read in the sun while she melted down to my husband about how I'm stealing all the joy from her and that don't I get that grandma is the most important role she'll ever play? My husband told her to knock off the theatrics and go home, and now she's going all over social media playing up what a victim she is because I guess now we're keeping her baby away, which isn't true. They haven't even been born yet. I've had so many pushbacks from my family telling us we need to just get over it and learn to accept that grandma is going to be around and that, yeah, Maybe she should get a say in some things. After all, it's her grandchild. I'm at a loss here. Maybe this is some weird cultural thing. We're in the Southwest US. Everyone is some bland mix of white. No religious stuff other than the usual fake Catholic stuff. Am I the jerk? Edit. Well, this was certainly a post. I'm glad I'm generally not the jerk. The claims that I'm trying to be edgy and not like the other girls are honestly depressing. I didn't expect people to get so upset because a woman would dare not think having a baby is the most OMG sacred, beautiful, lovely thing or whatever. I hope those of you who think that it's a not like the other girls thing can maybe get out there and explore what different women are actually like, and not just the ones in your immediate lives. Women come in all shapes and sizes, attitudes and personalities. Being one way is not a condemnation of how other women are. Being bored by childbirth and all of that isn't a condemnation for those who think it's a big deal or a miracle. Calling me edgy or a tryhard is such a very Reddit thing to say about a woman who doesn't behave the way you think she should. Best of luck to everyone, and thanks for the kind words. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mother-in-law? Please let us know. I think Grandma's overstepping her boundaries, but it's just because she's so excited. I do work here, but not for you. I work in IT contracting and specialize in quality control and software testing, and this happened about 10 years ago. I was hired by a company, client, as a member of their governance team. Basically, we were to assess the company they hired, Big Tech, to create their software and their testing standards and plans. Governance teams are hard to utilize correctly and only any good if the person you report to understands. Client was my customer and Alan was my boss from the company. So they decided to change our role to working directly with Big Tech on their test teams to watch what they were doing and bringing up any issues to Alan. I am packing up to leave one day and Big Tech project manager appears out of nowhere and asks to have a meeting. Never spoke to the guy before, but I knew who he was. A bit surprised, I asked if it could wait till tomorrow as the day was over, and he said that it's one of the things I need to discuss. A bit miffed, I agree. So we're going into a meeting room with windows where you can still see the office floor. He asks me to look out on the office and tell him what I see. No idea what he wanted me to say. I was a bit dumbfounded, so I said, "People working." He nods his head, repeating it, and then asks why I am not with them and was going home, and why I was not dressed appropriately for a client's site and so unprofessional. Now I see the issue. He obviously thinks I work for him and not the client directly. I explain that I've done my work for the day and ask if he expects me to stay in the office doing nothing. He goes into a long-winded explanation of how the longer we are in the office, the more they have to pay. Intrigued, I ask, does that mean I would get paid more? Or is it that I should do unpaid overtime so Big Tech makes more money? He explained I was a salaried employee and should be grateful for the experience I was getting with their world-class company. I ask again that if I have no more work, should I stay to charge the client more? And what should I do while I have nothing to do? He's getting a little frustrated with me and his tone is getting more aggressive, and he said I should just look busy while I stay late. That is when I said, "You aren't my boss. I work for client and Alan is my boss, not you." Alan was the person he reported progress and billing to. I was hired to make sure Big Tech was accurately creating the software and not overcharging the client. You have just outlined how you are overcharging and tried to reprimand me for not taking part. You accused me of being unprofessional and not dressing professionally. My belief is that you are acting unprofessionally, and it doesn't matter what you look like, and your insistence of the appearance of being busy to hide inaction illustrates this. You also appear to be taking advantage of your employees, and importantly, you do not know who does and doesn't work for you. He freaked out completely and started asking if we could keep this among ourselves, and that if I badmouthed the company, I would affect my chances of getting work in the future as they are so big. Explained it would not be very professional of me and that I would be accurately reporting on what was said. I asked if there was anything more he wanted to discuss as he had called this meeting, and I normally charge for overtime because I don't like being taken advantage of. Then I left the room laughing, telling him he may have some things to explain tomorrow. When I arrived the next day, he wasn't in his office, which was very unusual, as he was there first thing in the morning and last thing in the evening. I open up the calendar and look up Big Tech meetings and see PM has canceled all of his meetings for the day. I ring my boss and ask if he knows why PM is not in today and we should have a meeting. He's up for the meeting, but said PM has had some family emergency and the new person was going to the PM in a few days. We have our meeting and I explained what happened. He was furious. He wanted the names of the people who were staying late and just surfing the net. Now I worked side by side with these people and knew they didn't have any choice. Explained that they weren't the issue, but being forced to stay by big tech made them stay, and that they were actually good at the work, and realistically, replacing them would stall the project. So he decided to get the timesheets and billing together. Suddenly, all the billing reports were password protected, and they couldn't get in touch with PM due to the family emergency. A lot of reports gone missing from the sharp point, with all of the PM's name showing very late hours. He asked me to try and find the information while he contacted Big Tech to explain what's going on. As I'm looking through SharePoint, I noticed that PM is still logged in and actively deleting files. So I contact the security section to kick him out of the system and get backups of SharePoint. Go to my boss's office, and he's on the phone with Big Tech, and he puts it on speakerphone and tells them I'm on the call. He explains that Big Tech can't contact PM due to the family issue. So I point out he was just on our network deleting files 20 minutes ago. Silence is deafening from the other end. Tell them the files deleted and password protected now are all being restored, and we would have them in a couple of hours. More silence. My boss then says, are they concerned about the content of these files, and why is PM logging onto their servers deleting files? More silence. I could go into the whole thing, but basically piles of documentation proving overcharging. The PM had been too stupid to understand the client's SharePoint was not his Big Tech SharePoint, because they have the same name. He was not having a family emergency, shocker, right? And they were hiding him and letting him resign with a package. Now everyone knew what happened, and you would think the staff of Big Tech would hate me. But the opposite happened. They were told not to do any more overtime without 3 signatures for approval from the client. It effectively stopped all overtime and made them all very happy. I've met many of them, since on other projects they still thank me for getting PM out of the way. He did get other jobs, but was let go several times because of all of his talk of being able to get projects over the deadline. He had no ability and would just tell people to work longer hours. That is not sustainable and doesn't address problems with specification and design issues. Please come watch this video next, you will love it. And if you join as a channel member today, we'll give you a special shout out on our next video. And now you can have us make any kind of video you'd like us to. Just come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.